I grew up in Richmond, California. I worked in Berkeley for a lot of years running printing presses. Actually, for 13 years, I ran printing presses in Berkeley, California. It was sex, drugs, rock and roll, Jimi Hendrix. My first exposure to drugs, it was all about doing smoking pot in these little white pills called Crosstops. Did a lot of partying with that stuff. And then the next thing you know, you get involved with larger amounts and bigger bags, and you end up becoming a drug dealer. I had a bar was in the living room, an apartment was my shower, and my van in the backyard was my bedroom. So I lived in my van for about 2 years before I left town and came to Sacramento. What I was feeling when 9/11 happened, and I heard those questions asked about where were you when the Twin Towers came down. I was in the downtown jail. You spend time in a day room in places like that, and the TV comes on and
crews are making their way to the scene.
It gives you a bit of a gut-wrenching feeling because you're sitting there in a tower yourself and you're confined in a place like that. It leaves you feeling sort of helpless to where, what's next? I couldn't see God in any of this. You know, there was, I was just void. Sitting there on my bunk staring at the wall, I envisioned my brother sitting in a chair reading the Bible. And this brother is dead, you have to understand. He's dead, cancer has taken him, he's dead and gone. I was really seriously troubled with all this. One Sunday morning, they had opened up one of our gates, and in came a jailhouse preacher. He asked the question, does anybody here want a Bible? And I said, yeah, me, I want one, you know? So I got out of that penitentiary, and the person that I was working for before I went there at Sacramento Ford Tractor here, and I showed up at the door, and he looked at me and said, Clifford, are you ready to go back to work? And I said, yes, sir, I am, you know? So one of my routes was Highway 50 going past Capitol Christian Center. And there's that big brass cross out there I saw all the time. So finally, I just gave up one day and walked in there. There's this young fellow that walked up to me as I entered the doors with this smile on his face, and he greeted me with such kindness. I wasn't used to that kind of personality dealing with me because always people wanted something from you. And it was strange to me. And then from there on, I decided to start going to church to hear Pastor Rick speak. It was as if he picked me out of the crowd. It felt like he was looking right at me when he spoke, and he spoke to my heart. I felt this surge, this indescribable surge of emotion. Yeah, and I just start crying. I go like, what is this? Well, I felt human for a change. Yeah, it was like, before I walked into this place, I was a very jaded person, a very cold-blooded person. Since I've become a part of Capitol Christian Center, I'm there a lot. I'm there as much as I can possibly be. Not because anybody's expecting me to be there, because I have to be there, because I like it. I restocked the sanctuary with tithing envelopes and guest cards, and I got my little iPod shuffle stuffed in my ears. The reason I do all this is to give back to anybody that would approach those doors like I did for the first time, to make them feel welcome and warm. I love that place. I love Capitol Christian Center, and I love to be a resource that God can use to invite people in.